Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. It's been 2 months since I've moved to Singapore on and off, and I put a few pieces of content online, and then so many people reached out to me asking me so many questions. So I thought I'll just make a video about all the questions that I've been asked, and to make it more organized I will probably segregate it. So the first section I'll probably talk about our journey to Singapore and what got us, that is me and my husband, to Singapore. And if you're interested to come to this country, a few tips and tricks over there, and actually give you a very realistic situation of the market, which is currently, like, what is the current situation, you get the point. And then I'm going to move on to the people who are moving to Singapore, house hunting, different types of housing, how do you rent a place. I'm also going to be talking about the documentation, like what visas do you get, and like basic things like getting Wi-Fi, getting your expenses done, your eating habits, eating, traveling, everything. I'm just going to cover it in sections, but primarily I'm going to divide it into two sections. First is our journey to Singapore, how to get there if you're interested, and the next one is if you're already moving, then what does life look like here and the things you need to do when you move to Singapore. It's gonna be a super long video and I'm gonna be yapping a lot, so grab some popcorn if you wanna listen to a random stranger on the internet blabber some random things, but I just really hope this helps somebody. So yeah, so how we got to Singapore is something that I get asked a lot, and how do you make it to Singapore if you want to look out for opportunities here. So number one, to start with, Singapore's laws are very strict. The government here has a very strict control on their population. Now I don't know the exact numbers, but they prefer 80% of the population in India to be Chinese, in Singapore to be Chinese, and I think like 10% Indian or 9% Indian, and then some percentage of Malaysians, because Singapore is a country where there are different types of diversity. Mostly people here are Chinese, then Malaysians, and then they're Indians, Tamilian Indians or Sri Lankan Indians, most of them. So this population control is very strict, and because of this, what it means is if like certain number of Chinese people are applying to get into Singapore, only a few Indians are allowed to enter. So naturally, companies also have like this quota of hiring where they can only hire talent which is not from Singapore. They have only few seats. So in short, the market here is very tough. If you're looking for a job in Singapore, it's going to be tough. It's not going to be easy. I'm just giving you a very realistic picture. Migrating to Singapore is very tough compared to other countries like Germany, Dubai, other places in Europe. I can only say if you're somebody into finance or someone with very technical skills, you might have an advantage, because over here, think of it this way, the company really has to convince the government into telling them that we need to hire this talent which is not like a localite. The company really has to convince the government, saying that, you know, this person we're getting from India or whichever country, we really need this person, this talent is not available locally. So that's what I was saying, for a company to sponsor you, it is very challenging, but nothing is impossible in life. Like if you have the skills, if you can sell yourself, of course keep applying and see where it goes. Maybe you'll end up landing a job or offer, you never know, but I'm just giving you a very realistic picture. So now what got us to Singapore is my husband. He works for a company and he's been with the same company for a couple of years, and fortunately his business vertical that he works under has a lot of collaboration done with the Singaporean team and the team sitting in US. So he put out a request that he really wants to get out of the country, and then it took a long time, but actually what happened was, like a few years ago, like I think 2 years ago, both of us, we just had it one day. Okay, we live in Bombay, we used to live in Bombay, and we're like, oh my god, we cannot take more of living in Bombay, we have to get out of India for various reasons, for a better lifestyle, better job opportunities, earning better, etc. And I don't want to go too much into detail, but he has lived abroad throughout his life. From when he was a kid, he's lived in countries like China, Japan, Paris, London, Switzerland. Like his life has been very travel oriented, and I have also not stayed in one place. I've moved cities within India, not international like him, but I've always been on a run. So both of us have this itch to like move around. We embrace change. It's not a alien concept to us, which is why one day we're like, we need to get out of India, like experience life abroad, take it up as a challenge, or blah blah blah. And then back then it was impossible because you are like mid career level, you're not high enough, or you're not a fresher, and then you're like, which countries to see, where to target, and we were just applying in the air to different countries. And the plan was for both of us is that if one of us gets a job offer abroad, then the other one follows, right? It's as easy as that. So we were just shooting in the dark, but we just had this itch in the back of our brains, and a lot of shit happened. And finally, to cut it short, somehow he got involved into this new business vertical in his company. And then I still remember back then Singapore was a dream country for us. The countries we were targeting was Sweden because he's lived in Sweden, and he loves it there, and also Dubai because Dubai is easy. And I really wanted to move to a country which is close to India, so Singapore was one of them because it's so advanced infrastructure, blah blah. But knowing the situation and the market, talking to a lot of people who are from Singapore, they said impossible to get into this country, right? So Singapore was like non-existent as an option, although it was my dream country because it's so close to India, it's so advanced, whatever. But fortunately what happened was eventually he was talking and he got this offer of getting transferred to Singapore within the same company. So it was sort of an internal transfer. Basically he got hired internally, which means that obviously he's not under Indian payroll. Like the Singapore office of his company took him for a new role. And I think what made it easier is because he's already worked in the company. So this transfer was a little easier, but it took a lot of time because it's Singapore. So the company in Singapore had to also convince the government that we need this guy to come in from India, blah blah. So it wasn't easy. We were hanging in there for a long time. It actually started out with him getting a temporary project last year. They sent him to Singapore for I think 3 to 4 months, saying that we're giving you a temporary project. So he did that temporary project and came back to India, and then this became permanent this year. So it wasn't easy, like it really took time. And for those people who want to enter Singapore, like just to be very frank, it is a very tough country. And if you just want to move abroad, I feel you should explore other markets like Germany, Europe, Dubai, etc. Dubai, now with the war situation, I don't know, it might get better, but see where it goes. Other Southeast Asia countries like Thailand, Malaysia, I mean all these places are amazing and nobody talks about it, but I wouldn't mind moving to Thailand right now. But anyway, see, these countries are good opportunities, and if you are in a technical field, it's way easier because you don't have to worry about language. Of course, positions in marketing and sales are tougher because you need to know the local language. But when you're in a technical industry, it's all about back-end work, and you're just glued onto the computer, so you don't need your language skills to really shine. So getting a job in the technical space is much more easier abroad than getting a job in like a management level sort of role like marketing and sales, etc. So this is just a few tips on how to move abroad. And of course, applying through all the job portals, networking is so important, whatever. So this is a bit of glimpse of how we moved to Singapore and what you can do to move here or move anywhere in the world. Now moving on to the other section of this video is moving to Singapore and what it looks like. So if you're somebody who is moving to Singapore, then you can just skip to this section, and I'm going to talk about that. The first thing I'm going to talk about is house hunting. So you need to understand that there are two types of housing in Singapore. Primarily, one is HDB. These are housing or apartment complexes, or what am I saying? Complexes or whatever, made by the government. Okay, and these are older more spacious and cheap, right? Because they're made by the government. Government has this really good housing scheme for people, for localites to afford housing, because Singapore is one of the most expensive cities in the world. It's a small country, there's no space, so real estate is very expensive here. Rent is very expensive here. So the one type of housing is called HDBs. These are housing provided by the government. So the other side of the housing is more private, which is your condos. These are your typical apartment societies. They are gated. The main difference between both of them is that HDBs are more cost friendly, so they don't have any facilities. They don't have like, they're not guarded by boundaries. They're just there. There's no like security. There's no facilities. Like, it won't have a gym. It won't have, you know how typical apartment societies are. They won't have any of those features. Most of the HDBs are older, so you won't have like a modern construction. So that's a typical HDB. But the good part about that is it's always like a neighborhood, but that neighborhood has everything. Like, if you're in a HDB, that neighborhood will have a school, will have a hospital, will have the hawker center, will have everything. So there are pros and cons between the two, but it's just depends on what you like. So that's HDB for you. Condos are basically more private, more expensive, proper apartment societies with facilities. It's guarded. It has security. It has gym. It has a pool and all. Has all facilities. They're very fancy condominiums which have a lot of facilities, etc. The basic ones, and of course they're naturally more expensive, and it's not as spacious as HDBs. So it really depends on what you want. If you are on a budget and you want space, you can look at a HDB. But if you want to stay in a little fancy premium place, and you go for a condo which has a gym, which has a facility, proper gated community with a security guard or whatever. Although Singapore is very, very safe, you don't need to worry about security, but it's just what suits you. So now, how to find a house? Okay, so there are two ways primarily. One is online through Property Guru and 99 Acres, or you get an agent yourself. Now I'll tell you the pros and cons of doing both and what you should be doing. Depends on, of course, the choice is yours. But either you go online on these two websites, Property Guru, 99 Acres. They have listings, whatever is available on rent. You have filters. You can see properties based on your budget, which area, blah blah blah. And then you can see. So if you find a property that you like, you have an option which says contact agent. So what you need to do is you need to contact this agent, and then you need to coordinate with him and arrange for a viewing. Once you do that, you can go see the property, and then you get in touch with the landlord, and then you get your agreement or whatever. That's after the steps. I don't know how this works because I did not go this route. I actually took a agent, which I feel is better for a first timer, because you are in a new country. You have absolutely no idea about areas, facilities, housing options, and you just dump your priorities on the agent, and they do the searching and they give you options. You go on viewings every day with the agent, and once you find something, the agent does everything for you, right? Like all the documentation, blah blah, negotiations, everything is done by the agent. The only pro and con, or the thing over, is that if you're going with the agent, you need to have a very large starting capital, because you need to pay 1 month rent as brokerage to the agent, which is very expensive. If you don't want to pay this brokerage, then you do this whole online search by yourself, where you don't have to pay anything. You're looking for the house yourself, and the agent you're contacting on the website, they are paid by the landlord, because the landlord is interested in putting the property for sale, right? So they are paying the agent to find a tenant. So you are not paying any brokerage in that sense. You need to be very clear, and this was something I did not think about. I did not know. You need a very large starting capital when you have an agent, because you need to pay 1 month advance rent, and you need to pay the brokerage fee, and then I think there was another fee that we had to pay. And the rent over here is anywhere between 2.5k to 15k, right? It really depends on the type of property you want, the type of housing, the premiumness, the facilities. If it's a condo, if it's HDB, it really depends, the number of rooms, blah blah. and that minimum is like 2.5k, which is consider 2.5 lakhs. Just stupid calculation, but consider that. So if you find a property which is 2.5 lakhs, which I think you'll not get anything in 2.5 lakhs, you need to increase your budget, because in 2.5 I practically found nothing. But if you do, let's say that's the minimum, you have 2.5 lakhs plus another 2.5 lakhs plus another 2.5 lakhs. So you need like a really large capital to go with this option. So if you are engaging with an agent, just be ready, you have that starting capital. So yeah, that's the pro and con. I would love to use an agent, and if you have the capacity, I think it's way better, because the landlords here are could be tricky sometimes, and you know, your first time with the agreements and everything, it might be a little tough to navigate. But we had an amazing agent. She was an Indian lady, and she helped us. She found the apartment we needed, got the contract done, got the agreement done, told us what to watch out for. And just a tip for you, that if you're going through the website and you're finding housing yourself, please do not finalize a property virtually. There are a lot of scams done in Singapore, and I read about this. So if you are finding a house yourself, make sure you meet the agent in person. Make sure you go see the property with that agent in person, so you know it's legit. Don't do anything online, and only pick something you've seen physically. And also, when you move in, because you are going to be doing the agreements yourself, make sure you read the contract, see if there are any clauses which seem unfair, point it out. Also, the minute you move into an apartment, take a video and document each and every defect which already exists. So when you're moving out, the landlord doesn't have a chance to tell you that this is something which is caused by you. Otherwise, they'll hold security deposit. Security deposit was one thing, yeah. So yeah, security deposit is also usually 1 month rent, which is a lot of money. So you need to make sure that you document the state of the house, of how it was when you moved in. So when you're moving out, if there are certain damages done by you, okay, cool, you pay for it. But then the damages which are already there, you don't pay for it. And you need proof, right, that this was already there. So I'm not even kidding, in this house that we are in now, every little crack, every little dust spot on the wall has been documented, sent to the landlord, sent to the agent, signed upon and agreed. So that is sorted. I also want to talk about tips of finding a house, like what should be your priorities. And this is something which was told by a local person, and we thank that person. So for us, the area was pretty important, and our priorities for choosing an area was travel. So you need to understand, traveling in Singapore is mainly done by public transport, and you want to make sure there is some public transport, especially the MRT, which is less than 10 minutes. 10 minutes, like, oh, just 10 minutes. No, less than 10 minutes. Because this is what that uncle told us, and it was so true. Like, you know, you're going to office every day, you're traveling through the MRT, you're walking, and after a tiring day, walking back is going to kill you. So for us, being close to an MRT station was very, very, very important. That was our number one priority, right? Even if it's a little further, it's fine. Basically, you have different lines, metro lines. The same line which takes my husband to his office, that was the line we explored, right? So there's a circle line. So we were seeing every stop and seeing if we can find some accommodation in those stops, which is obviously close to that station. So it was just be him popping in, going to the MRT, getting on that one train, which takes him directly to the one station which is close to his office. Okay, so the next topic, let's talk about travel. The public transport in Singapore is amazing, and owning cars in Singapore is very, 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 very expensive. It's probably for the elite over here. That's because the government want to promote traveling in public, because they have such a good infrastructure. Why not? It makes complete sense. So you have the metro, which is called the MRT in Singapore, which is just the underground trains, just like a metro, or the tube, or the subway, whatever you call it. It's called the MRT. Usually each trip is about $1.75, and you can get an MRT card, or once you're local, you have your bank account, you can just use your bank card directly to tap in. The other way is through bus, which is again the same system, the same card works. There are bus stops everywhere. You just wait, get in, tap in your MRT card or your bank card, and then get off and tap it again. Otherwise, you can take a Grab. Now, Grab is an app which is like Uber. There's no Uber in Singapore, it's called Grab. Grab is an app, and I really like Grab because Grab is a consolidated app which has everything. Like, you know, in India you have Blinkit, you have Swiggy, you have Uber, you have Ola, Urban Club, whatever. Grab is that one app in Singapore which has everything. So if you want to order food, you grab it. If you want to order groceries, you grab it. If you want to travel, you grab it. So everything is on Grab, which is amazing. When you land to Singapore in the airport, you have a lot of luggage which will not fit in one car. You can even order like a 14-seater minivan, which is amazing because, I mean, it is expensive, but then you have all these options available. And for daily commute, traveling by Grab is not recommended because it is expensive. Each trip would be a minimum of like $9 all the way till $36 or $25 depending on the traffic time, search times, etc. So Grab is like, for me, it's for emergencies, and if I'm really tired and I don't want to walk, Grab is something that I would grab. But MRT and buses are the way to go. Next topic, food. So let's talk about food. Groceries are very expensive in Singapore. So the usual culture is that nobody cooks at home. Everybody buys their meals outside because that's cheaper than buying groceries, making them, cooking them at home. And then nobody has the time to clean up your kitchen after the mess you've made. So it's just easier to just buy your meals. So in Singapore, there are hawker centers, which are basically like small food courts in every neighborhood. And the meals there are usually cheaper. So you can say $6 to $10 average would be a meal. So the culture in Singapore is that you usually go to work, you go out to the closest hawker center, you get your lunch, and when you're going back home, you go to the same hawker center, pack food for dinner, and go back. That's what Singaporeans do, or most of them do. People usually don't cook at home. If you're very adamant on eating Indian food, then you want to cook at home. But hawker centers, usually few of them do have some Indian stalls as well. The food in Singapore is amazing. The options you get are so overwhelming. Everywhere you go, there's just food. And like, I love food and I love trying out different cuisines, and I love Chinese food, like authentic Chinese food, not Indo-Chinese. So every mall you walk into, any small commercial space you walk into, any hawker centers, there are like a million stalls to try. And I don't know, if I had this entire lifetime to spend in Singapore, I don't think I'll have enough time to explore each and every type of food that you get here. So food is amazing. Food is very readily available everywhere. And of course, it's Little India. You can go to the hawker center Little India and eat Indian food. There are actually very famous Michelin star stalls in the hawker center. But on the other hand, buying groceries is a little expensive. You have, of course, you have Fair Price, which is like one of the main grocery stores here. Then you have this other Chinese grocery store. Oh my god, I keep forgetting how to pronounce it. Sheng something. Okay, I put the name here. That's cheaper. That's the cheapest of them all. So this one is right in front of my house. So I go here and it's amazing. Quick is your SIM card and your Singpass and your work pass or whatever. I'm going to talk about this because I struggled in this part and I think it'll help somebody. So if your husband or you are getting transferred to Singapore, you will get a EP, which is called an employment pass. This is your work visa. And if you want your spouse to come and stay with you, they get something called a dependent visa. So I have a dependent visa. And two things about the dependent visa. Actually, one thing is that I cannot legally work with a dependent visa, which absolutely sucks. Okay, so if I need a job here, a company has to literally sponsor me from scratch, which is as good as saying that if I'm living in India and I'm looking for a job and I want to come to Singapore, a company has to sponsor me. It's the same shit. So it's very tough for me to also get a job. Just because I have a dependent visa, I cannot work legally. So right now, most of my time is going away in applying for jobs. But what happens is that, like, you know how there's Aadhaar card in India, for Singapore it's called a Singpass. So once you enter the country with whatever means you have, whatever visa you have, you get a Singpass. And this Singpass is very, very, very important. It's like your identification number. And the thing is that if you're looking for a local SIM which is more permanent, you can only get one after you get your Singpass. I tried and I made several visits to every service provider out there, and I could not get a permanent number without my Singpass. And my Singpass, it takes time to arrive, because after you land in Singapore, you need to go for your appointment with to the Ministry of Manpower, and then you have your documentation done to show them, okay, you're here, give them your residential proof, blah blah blah, and then you get your Singpass. So it's a time consuming process, and only after this is done is when you can get a permanent number. So what you can do is you can take a prepaid number which is like for 15 days or 20 days, and that's like a temporary number just for you to use for your local data or whatever. And then after you get your Singpass, you can actually then get your permanent number. Okay, and also another thing, please avoid Singtel. I had the worst experience with Singtel service provider. I don't want to get into it. They just made me do such, they gave me the wrong information. I got the wrong SIM card, then I couldn't use it, then my entire $15 went away. So much shit, don't want to get into it. I would prefer M1 or StarHub or these other service providers. Next section is laws in Singapore. So this is a fun bit for me. There are things that you need to know when you move into the country, starting with basic laws which you get fined for. You cannot litter here. The fine for littering is very, very high. You need to understand that the way the government works here is that they promote the citizens to like point out if somebody else is doing something wrong, right? So this is sort of promotion level done there. So to get reported, it's very easy. Okay, there's no jugaad, there's no bribing, nothing. It's straight white or black. You make a mistake, you're gonna get fined, books closed. It's not like India. So please do respect the fact that you're moving to another country, you adapt to their culture locally, you follow the rules. You don't want to be a disgrace in the environment. So littering, number one to start with, not allowed. Throw your shit in the dustbin. Littering has a very big fine, number one. Number two, whenever you're using a public transport, you are not allowed to eat, not allowed to chew, you're not allowed to drink water. So when you're in the MRT, when you're in the metro, or when you're in a public bus, you cannot do anything. You cannot sip on water or eat anything. So be very careful, because if you do it and someone spots you, they're going to report you, because that's the culture they're promoting, and you can get fined like $1,000 to $5,000. So every MRT you go into, there are rules written there. No water, no smoking, no drinking, no eating durian. Durian is like this fruit which is very popular here. It's like pineapple, but it's a different species, I don't know. And it has a very, 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 very strong smell. And it's very, I hate the smell of durian. And I think because it has such a strong smell, it's like specifically written no durian, because Chinese people love eating this, and it, frankly, it stinks. Like, I hate the smell. And also like basic discipline practices when you are traveling in public and you're using the escalator, you have to make sure that if you're getting on an escalator, you want to stand in position, you don't want to climb up while it's moving. You have to stay to your left and give way to the people on the right to move. If you want to move, you stay on the right. If you want to stay still, you'll be on the left. You'll see everybody following this same discipline in public, and you have to do the same. Okay, like, do it. Okay, you don't want to be looked down upon. You cannot chew chewing gum over here. It's against the law. But I recently heard that if you get chewing gum from another country and you offer it, that's not allowed, but you can chew it by yourself. But I don't know, just to be safe, just don't chew chewing gums, okay? Like, just don't. A very other cute thing that I found is that, when you're in a hawker center, there are tables right in the center where you sit and eat. So over here, most of the eateries do not give you tissue paper. So you always carry your own tissue paper. Like, they just don't have tissue paper. And also this tissue paper packet that you carry is usually used for booking your table. So if I'm entering a hawker center, if I want to book my spot on a table, then I want to go order my food, get in and sit. So I just put my tissue box or packet on the table and block that it's mine. and there's this entire trust system that everybody knows, like nobody else is going to come and take away your packet and go, or everyone knows that what their tissue packet looks like and where they've blocked their place. It's a very cute system. Yeah, so tissue papers are very important. Just carry your tissue packet everywhere. Next topic is weather. Weather is hot and humid throughout the year, very similar to like India, like Bombay or Chennai or whatever. So the only tip that I would give you is that you spend a lot of time outdoors because you're traveling, you're walking, so you need to change your entire wardrobe. Like you live in shorts, you live in skirts, and you live in Uniqlo, the top that I'm wearing right now. Loose clothes, not too tight. This one is padded, so this is very comfortable. Linen, cotton, because you sweat a lot. I don't remember the last time I wore jeans here, so be prepared for the weather. And also it's very unpredictable. It could rain any second, any time of the day, so you usually carry your umbrella everywhere. So far so good. In general, Singaporeans are very sweet people. Fortunately, I have always interacted with them, and they're very pleasant, they're very open to helping, and they all speak English in Singapore. It's not that they speak Chinese. English is a common language, so I don't have any problems. Of course they have an accent, but you can understand it. It's not very different. I mean, it is different, but it's not very hard to understand. Alright, so I think I'm done yapping. It's gonna be a super long video, but I just hope it helps somebody, and I will see you next time. Bye.